period for calling the meeting, the board is required to proceed to call a meeting within 21 days. 21 days के अंदर अंदर उस बोर्ड को 21 days of receipt of a valid requisition, बोर्ड को करना है, स्टार्ट कर देना है preparations, और 45 दिन के अंदर अंदर एक मीटिंग कॉल हो जानी चाहिए. ओके, अगर requisition करी है members ने. उसके बाद है by requisitionists themselves. Okay, board does not follow this. अगर बोर्ड ये फॉलो नहीं करता इस दिन के अंदर, it doesn't proceed to call a meeting, okay, and it doesn't convene a meeting within 45 days of the receipt of requisition, then the meeting may be called and held by requisitionists themselves. देखो एक कहानी बनती है इसके अंदर, आप उसको इस तरीके से याद करोगे. ठीक है, कैसे याद करोगे? EGM, एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी जनरल मीटिंग, कौन कौन कॉल कर सकता है, कौन कन्वीन कर सकता है? बोर्ड कर सकता है खुद, या बोर्ड ही कर सकता है अगर एक पोजीशन मिले, मेंबर्स रिक्वेस्ट करें आप प्लीज एक EGM कॉल करो, हमें ये डिस्कस करना है. ठीक है, अगर बोर्ड फेल हो जाता है उसको कॉल करने के लिए, इफ बोर्ड इज अनेबल टू कॉल द मीटिंग विद इन 21, वो प्रोसीड नहीं करता विद इन, अगर वो 21 डेज में प्रोसीड नहीं करेगा तो वो 45 डेज में कन्वीन नहीं कर पाएगा मीटिंग. कौन? बोर्ड. ओके, देन द मीटिंग मे बी कॉल्ड एंड हेल्ड बाय द requisitionists themselves. ठीक है, they have to, again, when the requisition for convening of EGM by members, now what do they have to do? They have to follow that all the aspects same. उसके reimbursement भी होगा उनको. अब किसकी गलती की वजह से वो requisitionists कॉल कर रहे हैं मीटिंग? बोर्ड की. उन्होंने पहले टेस्ट डाली थी, but the board did not help them in calling an EGM, so all the expenses will be reimbursed by the company only to the requisitionist. उनका जितना भी खर्चा होता है उस मीटिंग को कॉल करने में, so they have to get the they will get the money back from the company. The expenses will be reimbursed. Okay, now in case the quorum is not present within half an hour, this we share. Okay, I was trying to tell you when we did adjournment of meeting, right? In case the quorum is not present within half an hour from the time appointed for holding a meeting by the requisitionist, the meeting shall stand cancelled. It will not be adjourned. Please keep this in your mind when we are doing it. We did this earlier. Here it is. We did this, right? The meeting, if called by requisitionists under section 100, shall stand cancelled if there is lack of quorum within half an hour. और AGM के केस में क्या होता है? वो adjourn हो जाती है मीटिंग. ठीक है, तो आप इससे correlate कर पाओगे what I am trying to say right now. Okay, now so then a meeting called by the requisitionist held either at the registered office or at any other some other place where the registered office of the company is situated, and such meeting shall be held on any day except national holiday. Same provisions हैं जो पहले थे. By tribunal, section 98. Okay. This basically says that tribunal can also call an EGM. Okay. It generally says that if for any reason it is impracticable to call a meeting of a company or to hold or conduct the meeting of the company other than any AGM, the tribunal may either suo motu or on the application of the director or member of the company would be entitled to order a meeting of the company to be called, to be conducted in such a manner as the tribunal thinks fit. कई बार there are reasons कि impracticable हो रहा है meeting को call करना, तो tribunal can order a meeting of the company. या तो वो अपने आप कॉल करवाए या फिर एप्लीकेशन ऑफ डायरेक्टर और मेंबर की किसी एप्लीकेशन की वजह से वो कॉल करवाए and give such ancillary or consequential directions as the tribunal thinks कि भाई which is required for holding the meeting. So this concept of tribunal calling the meeting is when it becomes what is the reason, basically impracticable. It is impracticable for a company to call a meeting of the company other than AGM in accordance with the provisions of articles of the Companies Act. Then tribunal may either suo motu call a meeting or because an application has been given by a director or a member or director or a member, and then it can order a meeting for the company कि ये किया जा सकता है. सेक्शन 97 क्या था? सेक्शन 97 ये था जब डिफॉल्ट हो जाए. The board doesn't call, board defaults in calling an AGM, right? तब ट्रिब्यूनल ऑर्डर कर सकता है, लेकिन EGM में भी ट्रिब्यूनल ऑर्डर कर सकता है. हमने जब सेक्शन 97 किया था तब क्या था? Where is it? यहाँ पर लिखा नहीं है, but this is section 97 that if the board fails to convene its AGM, अब ट्रिब्यूनल ऑर्डर कर सकता है कि आप AGM को कॉल करो. In this case, section 98 also tribunal has the authority to call the EGM. Okay, and he can the tribunal here can also say that only one person can constitute a quorum, in person or as it would find it. Okay, everyone, I think it's 11 and we can take a 5 minutes break right now and then we will resume the class in another 5 minutes time. Okay, everyone, welcome back. Okay, I have got some queries. I would want to answer them here because I will not be able to write answers in them. First of all, somebody wanted to know what is the penalty of default in holding AGM. As I have been telling you, that if the board defaults in convening an AGM or calling an AGM, then the tribunal under section 97 can directly call for the AGM, and then it would be in pursuance of section 97 subsection 1. The tribunal can also make make any sort of uh, provisions for them, like the quorum may be lesser, and the quorum may be one person in one member in person or proxy will constitute a quorum. Then it will be governed in accordance with the tribunal. Then under section 99 there is another provision. If any default is further made in for example, a tribunal calls, a tribunal instructs the directors to convene an AGM, and still there is a default is made from the board of directors point of end, that they are not calling any AGM. Then what will happen? The company officer of the company who is in default shall be punishable with a fine which may extend to rupees 1 lakh, and in case of any continuing default, rupees 5,000 of every day has to be paid as fine. So this is for the one who asked for the penalty. So penalty, there is a penalty of 1 lakh rupees, and in case of continuing default, 5,000 rupees if after the tribunal's instructions also the board doesn't convene the meeting. Okay, somebody wanted to know about the adjournment of the meeting. I had already discussed with you adjournment because of lack of quorum. If there is lack of quorum, as we discussed about the quorum is the minimum number of members who should be present to start a meeting, to commence a meeting, and to form a valid meeting. Then if the quorum is not present within half an hour of the time allotted for the meeting, then the meeting stands adjourned to next week, same day, same time, same place, and or any other time or place which has been declared by the board. Okay, so this is adjournment of meeting, but in adjournment of AGM for that matter. Okay, and basically people want to know about, again they are asking for Hindi. I'm trying as much as possible to be bilingual in this is corporate law. I will try to be bilingual, Hindi, English, both. I will try to speak. Okay, for voting now. Now this is interesting. Voting by show of hands, voting through electronic means, postal ballot, and voting by poll. So I think you can just there were two basically there were two methods of voting earlier, which was voting by show of hands, which are most popular method, I must say. Not earlier, they were the most popular methods, like by show of hands or by poll. So by show of hands it comes under section 107. At the first instance, that it is to be the show of hands unless a poll is demanded under section 109. So poll can be demanded under section 109. Otherwise, however, there was a notification that voting by means of show of hands will not be allowed in case voting is carried out electronically, of course. Okay, so it is voting by show of hands is applicable to companies other than listed companies or companies with less than 1,000 shareholders, and to listed small and medium enterprises. So you have to remember this, that under this method, every member has one vote. Voting by show of hands, every member has one vote, and proxies are not allowed to vote unless it has been explicitly mentioned in the articles of the company, that is, otherwise proxies are not allowed to vote by show of hands. But and then comes your poll. In case of voting by show of hands, the results may reflect the true opinion of the members. You know why? As there may be number of proxies present who want to by poll and not by show of hands. Proxies are not allowed to. Proxies कौन होते हैं? They are the representatives of the original shareholders. Okay, they are not allowed to vote through show of hands. But through poll, actually true picture निकल के आती है. Why? Because then the proxies can also vote in case of polling. Thus, voting by poll is a more proper and effective way of arriving at the of knowing what the members actually want. So under this method, each member has the right to vote according to the number of shares held by the person. One vote with respect to each share. ये हम किसकी बात कर रहे हैं? Voting by poll की बात कर रहे हैं. ठीक है? By poll. So this has to be kept in mind. It is section 107 which we are talking about. Then we are basically a poll can also be demanded. Okay, this you have to remember. As per section 109, it has been missed here. Section, Section 109 has been missed, which talks about demand for poll. Okay, it talks about demand for poll. This is a bad handwriting as I'm trying to write with the mouse. Anyways, doesn't matter. Demand for poll, you can note down somewhere that this voting can be demand for poll can be ordered, and when a poll is basically demanded and ordered to be taken, the result of voting by show of hands stands automatically negated or cancelled. Okay, because voting by poll is a better option, certainly. Okay, then we have certain aspects which we need to consider here is voting by electronic means. First of all, voting by electronic means is most of the small shareholders cannot travel to another city where the general body meeting is being held. This electronic means is something which is given a boon to the voting, because now as a result small shareholders they allege that their concerns are never paid heed to. That means small shareholders are always saying that unki problems nahi their concerns are never paid heed to. That means they cannot come up because they cannot visit the registered office where the meeting is going on. So this electronic way of voting has actually given a boon to a lot of activism from the members' point of view, because now they can cast their vote electronically, and e-voting mechanism has been taken up by the companies. Investors can finally have a say in the company matters. Earlier, because of the traveling things, they would never, many of the people are reluctant to travel for meetings, and that shareholders are widespread. They are across the globe. They cannot always visit the registered office or the place of meeting. So this e-voting ensures that they have a say in the company matters and they can vote. So e-voting basically is an electronic system where the shareholders can vote on resolutions in the electronic form. Okay, they are given login IDs. Okay, They are provided with the login IDs, and a secure online platform is provided to them. A unique ID is provided to them, and they cast their votes. Okay, they are sent through emails. A unique ID is provided to them. A proper checklist is provided to them, whether they agree or they disagree on this particular resolution which needs to be taken. So it's a very organized and a very proper method of electronic means. So there is a proper online, proper way of casting votes electronically. So this is section 108. Then postal ballot. Again, uh, generally it is said that not possible for the entire body of shareholders to attend general body meetings. Okay, so to decide on certain important issues. So what happens in order to ensure that there is widest or the wider participation of shareholders in the key decision making process of company, the facility of passing resolution through postal ballot was introduced long back in 2001. Okay, so what does it do? Hence, what happens is important issues in case of listed companies, such as if there is an alteration in the object clause of the memorandum. Okay, if there is an alteration in the articles, if there is some sort of an approval which is need to be sought from the shareholders regarding buyback of shares, issue of shares with differential voting rights. There are a lot of these are a lot many meanings which you need to understand. Anyways, so when important issues were to be dealt with and that needed widest or the wider and more participation of shareholders, okay, that could be decided through postal ballots. Okay, so basically things which were transacted through postal ballots were alteration of the object clause, alteration of articles of association, change in the registered office of the company, then change in objects for which a company has raised money. For example, a company has raised money for a particular thing, but the object has changed. Now this needs to be asked from the shareholders. Approval needs to be taken from more number of shareholders. So this thing was done through postal ballot. So what does this um, these are the various ways and means of voting to be followed by the people. So postal ballot basically means voting by post or by electronic mode also now, or through any electronic mode now. So there is certain companies or certain businesses are exempt from conducting business. Some certain businesses are exempted through postal ballots. For example, one person companies and other companies having members up to 200. So they are exempted. And certain things are there which need to be done through postal ballot only, that I just told you. Okay. So while reading this, keep this in your mind. You have to talk about voting by show of hands, voting by poll, that is by poll, and through electronic means and through postal ballot. Please remember this. Now proxy section 105. Of lately I have been speaking about proxy in this presentation and this lecture only, that who is entitled to vote. The proxy is a person who is entitled. Just a second, I'll just remove this. Okay. Okay. Who is entitled to attend and to vote and can appoint another person as a proxy. A member can appoint another person as a proxy to attend and vote in the meeting on his behalf. So there are people who can act as a proxy, can be appointed as a proxy, and but there are certain disabilities of a proxy. A proxy doesn't have the right to speak at the meeting. A proxy cannot vote on show of hands. I just told you. A proxy is not counted for the purpose of quorum. You remember when we did quorum, I told you personally present. Members who are present in person. Okay, that means proxies are not counted for the purpose of quorum. They cannot speak at the meeting. They cannot put forward their opinions because the opinions could be adulterated. That means the original member can have some opinions, and when the proxy is speaking, he might not be able to express what the original shareholder wanted to express. So they do not have the right to speak, just because of the reason that their opinions could be adulterated. It could be something which actually the original shareholder did not want to keep in the AGM or any meeting. A proxy cannot vote on of hand, they can vote on the poll. Okay, so a person, this is important, a person appointed shall not act as proxy on behalf of more than 50 members and member holding the act more than 10% of the total share capital. 50 members से ऊपर की proxy वो नहीं बन सकता. You have to remember this. Or proxy forms are to be filled with us. Meeting के होने से 2 दिन पहले तक proxy forms पहुंच जाने चाहिए. Okay. Now this comes to the end of okay. There was a topic of resolution also. You have there are 3 types of resolutions: ordinary resolution, special resolution. Ordinary resolution just talks about majority. Votes in favor of resolution, including the casting vote, shall exceed the votes cast against the resolution. It talks about majority. Special resolution is 3 times the number of votes. The votes in favor should be 3 times the number of votes cast against. Resolution requiring special notice could be any of these: ordinary or special. You can just go and give it a reading. Now we have another important unit to start with, that is unit 4, which talks about the dividends. I have another lecture tomorrow, so the last one tomorrow. Winding up and depository act we'll take tomorrow. Today I will try to wind up with dividends. Okay, fine. So coming up to dividends, first of all, what is dividend all about? The word dividend basically means dividing, to be divided, something to be divided. And there is a Latin word dividendum, which means divided. Now, what is dividing? What do you want? What does the company want to be divided? Basically, whatever profits the company is making. Okay, after setting aside important aspects, like after setting aside the losses, after recovering from the profits, a lot of things keeping aside, if some profit is left, that is divided amongst the shareholders. Basically, dividend means the portion of profit received by the shareholders from the company's net profit, which is legally available for distribution amongst the members. The portion of net profits which is legally available to be distributed. Dividend देना. Dividend क्या है? Return on share capital है. Okay, आपको जो आप शेयर्स लेते हो, जिसकी वजह से जो पैसा कंपनी इन्वेस्ट करती है आगे, आप कंपनी के शेयर्स खरीदते हो, आप कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हो, वो फर्दर पैसा उसके प्रोजेक्ट्स में इन्वेस्ट होता है जो ऑब्जेक्ट क्लॉज के हिसाब से होता है, और कंपनी को प्रॉफिट्स होते हैं. जो प्रॉफिट्स होते हैं वो अपने खर्चे निकाल कर, जो भी रिक्वायरमेंट्स निकाल कर, जो रिजर्व्स में डाल देती है, जो भी चीजें होती हैं, उसके अलावा वो क्या करती है, उन प्रॉफिट्स में से कुछ शेयर होल्डर्स को एज अ डिविडेंड रिटर्न दिया जाता है. एक्स्ट्रा इनकम हो जाती है शेयर होल्डर्स की. दैट इज डिविडेंड विच इज पेड टू द शेयर होल्डर्स एंड एज अ रिटर्न ऑन देयर कैपिटल दे हैव इन्वेस्टेड इन द कंपनी. ओके, so this is a very important thing which everyone should know. So basically it is a share of profit which is distributed amongst the shareholders. Okay, and both equity and preference shareholders get the dividend, can be paid on equity or preference shares both. टाइप्स ऑफ डिविडेंड, 3 तरीके के डिविडेंड्स होते हैं. ओके, इंटरिम डिविडेंड, फाइनल डिविडेंड, प्रेफरेंस शेयर डिविडेंड. तो बेसिकली सबसे पहले तो मैं इंटरिम डिविडेंड की बात बता देती हूँ. इंटरिम डिविडेंड क्या होता है? व्हेन अ कंपनी, सबसे पहले फाइनल डिविडेंड की बात करते हैं. बेसिकली फाइनल डिविडेंड कौन सा होता है? हमने अभी जब प्रॉपर एजेंडा पढ़ा था, जिसके अंदर हमने पढ़ा था, आई थिंक आई हैव मेड एन हाइपरलिंक हियर, आई जस्ट शो यू. या व्हेन वी डिड प्रॉपर एजेंडा, जब हमने ऑर्डिनरी बिजनेस की बात करी थी, उसके अंदर डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ डिविडेंड एक एजेंडा आइटम होती है जो हमने एजीएम में फॉलो करनी है, राइट? एजीएम में हमने ये ट्रांजैक्ट करना होता है, हमने डिसीजंस लेने होते हैं, तो उसके अंदर डिविडेंड डिक्लेरेशन होती है. ठीक है, तो फाइनल डिविडेंड में क्या होता है? दैट once it has been declared in the AGM, this dividend is declared when the annual general meeting is going on as one of the part, तो वो एक debt बन जाता है कंपनी का, which is enforceable. So against the, once declared becomes a debt, that means अगर एक बार डिविडेंड डिक्लेयर हो गया तो कंपनी को वो देना ही पड़ेगा शेयर होल्डर्स को, unless and until there are provisions of revocation of the dividend, which I will discuss with you. लेकिन फाइनल डिविडेंड जो एनुअल एजीएम में डिक्लेयर होता है, वन ऑफ द एजेंडा आइटम्स हैं. ठीक है, देन वी कम टू इंटरिम डिविडेंड. अब इंटरिम डिविडेंड क्या होता है? जैसे कि समटाइम्स when a company has made sufficient profits in a particular year, a company has made sufficient portion of the sufficient profits in the particular year, अच्छा prospect है आगे remaining year में भी हमें अच्छा profit होगा, तो क्या होता है? It is actually paid in between the year. उसमें in between the directors may declare a dividend even before the presentation of the accounts in the AGM. कहने का मतलब ये है, if during a year a company has earned sufficient profits and it has anticipated that in the next remaining year, the year which is still which is still there, and it is we are going to work, we will more and more profits. At that time it feels that interim dividend can be given. It actually is given in between two annual general meetings. एक एनुअल जनरल मीटिंग में एक डिविडेंड डिक्लेयर हो गया, अब जो होना है फाइनल डिविडेंड डिक्लेयर नेक्स्ट एनुअल जनरल मीटिंग में होना चाहिए, लेकिन इन दो एनुअल जनरल मीटिंग के बीच में एक इंटरिम डिविडेंड भी अगर डिक्लेयर कर दिया जाए बिकॉज कंपनी इज अर्निंग सफिशिएंट प्रॉफिट्स, then that is considered as the interim dividend. इसके ऊपर same rules apply होते हैं जो final dividend. Okay, then we have source of payment of dividend. कहाँ से payment? Profits for the current year after providing for the depreciation. Okay, after providing of the depreciation, जो भी wear and tear है, जो भी चीजें हमने deduct करनी है, उसमें से जो बचेगा profit, हम उसमें से पेमेंट ऑफ डिविडेंड करते हैं अपने शेयर होल्डर्स को. प्रॉफिट ऑफ द प्रीवियस फाइनेंशियल ईयर और years after providing for the depreciation, again after cutting out the depreciation, or out of any money provided by the center or state government for payment of dividend as a guarantee. कई बार गवर्नमेंट भी आपको पेमेंट कर देती है as a guarantee. You for the payment, can provide money for the payment of dividend. तो ये तीन चीजें हैं which you have to remember कि पेमेंट कहाँ से होती है. Okay, then we have, okay, important aspect, dividend cannot be paid out of capital. It is invalid to make any sort of payment out of capital. Please remember this. Okay, in case there is a provision in the memorandum and articles to pay dividend out of capital, such a power is invalid. Always remember this. Such a power is invalid, and moreover, if directors knowingly, acha, why do directors want to pay dividend? You know, paying dividend to the shareholders is a kind of a repute which the company is earning. They are giving return on share capital, and that means the company is earning profits. That is why it is giving dividends, and it gains repute. It attracts more shareholders. People want to invest more in the company who's giving dividends, and who's actually giving dividend means that you are earning profits, right? So this kind of thing. And but dividend cannot be paid out of capital. If a director knowingly pay dividend out of capital, he shall be held personally liable to make good the amount of the. You cannot use your capital to pay dividend. You are using your capital to pay dividend. That means you are draining money out of your company. Okay, dividend is a. It has to be out of a portion of profits. It has to be a portion of profit. Okay, are you understanding what I'm trying to say? So you have to keep this in your mind. If any director who knowingly pays dividend out of the capital shall be held personally liable to make good the losses of the company, make good the amount which he has paid out of capital. Okay, now there are certain legal provisions relating to the payment of dividend. Okay, at first, a resolution has to be made at a general meeting. I told you ordinary business है जो deal किया जाता है. Payment of dividend in portion to amount paid up. So what does this mean? If the articles of association authorize, okay, the company can pay dividend in proportion to the amount paid up on each share. It has to be authorized by the articles first. There has to be an authorization by the articles that the dividend will be paid in proportion to the paid up capital. For example, a person has bought a share of 10 rupees. The nominal value of the face value is, 10 rupees. Okay. And he has paid only 4 rupees out of that. Paid up value is rupee 4. So he will be paid dividend in accordance with the paid up capital. So it would be obviously lesser. So this provision has to be made on the in the articles first of all. If the company wants to pay like this, paid up amount पर हम उसकी proportion पर हम dividend देंगे, पूरी nominal value पे हम नहीं dividend देंगे. ये articles में होना चाहिए. If it is not mentioned, in the absence of a provision in the articles authorizing payment of dividend in proportion to the amount paid up, dividend is paid in the proportion of the nominal value of each share. Okay, अगर दे रखा है आर्टिकल्स में कि हम इस तरीके से पेमेंट कर सकते हैं इन प्रोपोर्शन टू दी पेड अप अमाउंट, इट इज फाइन. अगर नहीं दे रखा देन it has to be done in accordance with the nominal value of the share. फिर वो पूरे 10 रुपए पे देना पड़ेगा, फिर वो ज्यादा डिविडेंड देना पड़ेगा. ठीक है. Dividend to be paid only out of profits. This I have just done. Okay. No company can pay dividend in any year without charging depreciation in the profit and loss account. Okay. पहले हमें अपनी कंपनी का स्टैंडिंग देखना है, financial standing. Okay. And thus we have to check that we are actually important costs have been recovered. Okay, so before declaration of dividend, first of all, charging depreciation is very important. Before declaration of dividend, a company may transfer a portion from the profits to the reserves of the company. The company is free to decide the percentage which they would want to transfer to the reserves. Obviously a company, why do we need reserves? We need reserves for any sort of emergency, for any sort of need of money later on. Okay, and out of that profit which the firm has made, the company has made, a transfer can be made to the reserves. Any percentage can be decided. Okay. No company can declare dividend till its past losses and depreciation has been set off against its current year's profit of the company. So till the time past losses and depreciation have been set off against current year's profit, आप dividend declare नहीं कर सकते. Okay, so they have to be paid only out of profits which are after the depreciation, after setting off the losses, after transferring to the reserves. Okay. Now what happens in case of inadequacy or absence of profits? Section 123 बोलता है that dividend can be paid only out of free reserves. That is, अगर absence of profit हो तो it can be paid only out of free reserves. That is, जो previous years में हमें profit हुए थे और वो accumulate हुआ है और we can make dividend, payment of dividend can be done out of that. लेकिन this needs to be followed. What needs to be followed? These things to be followed, need to be followed. Rule 3 of the company's declaration and payment of dividend rules 2014. अब आप देखेंगे एक चीज और आपको, I'll just give you one thing I'll tell you. See, these rules have been made in 2014. New Companies Act came up in 2013. So these rules are actually supplementing the provisions in the act. Okay, these rules are formulated later on and supplement and they add on to the interpretation of the law. Okay, so लेकिन अगर inadequacy है या absence of profit है तो हम accumulated profits में से dividend दे सकते हैं, but उसमें हमें कुछ rules follow करने पड़ेंगे. वो rules क्या होंगे कि पिछले 3 साल में जितने हमने dividends दिए हैं उसका average इस बार का रेट ऑफ डिविडेंड उससे एक्सीड नहीं करना चाहिए. दैट मीन्स रेट ऑफ डिविडेंड डिक्लेयर्ड shall not exceed the average rates at which dividends declared by it in the 3 immediately preceding years. Total amount drawn from the accumulated profits or reserves should not be more than 1/10 of its paid up share capital plus free reserves. तो हमें जब हमें प्रॉफिट्स नहीं हो रहे हैं और हम डिविडेंड देना चाहते हैं तो we have to make sure that these things are followed. Amounts so withdrawn shall be used to set off losses first, okay, and then in the financial year in respect of dividend to be declared, set off losses incurred in the financial year. पहले तो उस दिन उस साल का जिस सालों में हमें प्रॉफिट नहीं हुआ है तो हम पहले जो ये फ्री रिजर्व्स निकालेंगे, पहले हम उसके साथ क्या करेंगे, हम पहले उससे अपने इस साल के लॉसेस को की भरपाई करेंगे, उसके बाद हम डिविडेंड डिक्लेरेशन का सोचेंगे. एंड बैलेंस ऑफ द रिजर्व्स आफ्टर विड्रॉल शुड नॉट फॉल बिलो 15% ऑफ इट्स पेड अप शेयर कैपिटल. ओके, नाउ द अमाउंट, अब जब एक बार डिविडेंड डिक्लेयर हो गया है, the amount has to be deposited within 5 days of declaration in the scheduled bank. Okay, scheduled bank एक लिस्ट दी जाती है गवर्नमेंट से, उसमें बैंक्स में जिस कंपनी का you can deposit in one of the scheduled banks, जो भी बैंक एसोसिएटेड है. Dividend payable only in cash. Now cash doesn't mean proper currency, it can be paid through check, through dividend warrants. मतलब बैंकर्स को इन्फॉर्म कर दिया जा सकता है दैट शेयर होल्डर्स को इलेक्ट्रॉनिकली भी आप उनके अकाउंट्स में डिविडेंड का अमाउंट जा सकता है. डिविडेंड डिक्लेरेशन not allowed in case of contravention of section 73 and 74. What do these sections say? These sections say if किसी भी तरीके से कंपनी रीपेमेंट ऑफ डिपॉजिट्स, जो पब्लिक डिपॉजिट्स हैं उसके रीपेमेंट में या एक्सेप्टेंस में समथिंग रिलेटेड टू दीज पब्लिक डिपॉजिट्स के रीपेमेंट और एक्सेप्टेंस में कोई भी डिफॉल्ट किया हो, डिले किया हो, डिफॉल्ट किया हो, इंटरेस्ट पे नहीं किया, किसी भी तरीके का कुछ भी प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट किया हो तो कंपनी विल बी डिबार्ड फ्रॉम डिक्लेयरिंग द डिविडेंड. ओके, सेक्शन 73 एंड सेक्शन 74 टॉक अबाउट acceptance and repayment of deposits. If any sort of default in compliance with these provisions, तब कंपनी को डिबार कर दिया जाएगा कि वो डिविडेंड नहीं देगी. Now section 124 unpayment dividend account. अगर डिविडेंड डिक्लेयर करने के 30 दिन तक, okay, the dividend has not been claimed and has not been paid, in such case the company shall open an account in the scheduled bank by the name unpaid dividend account of this and this such and such company. Okay. Transfer the unpaid or unclaimed amount of dividend within a period of 7 days from the expiry of 30 days. 30 दिन के अंदर अंदर डिविडेंड देना जरूरी है. ओके. लेकिन अगर 30 दिन के अंदर कुछ ऐसे शेयर होल्डर्स हैं जो जिन्होंने क्लेम नहीं किया या जिनको हम पे नहीं कर पाए बिकॉज ऑफ एनी XYZ रीजन, तब क्या होता है, हमें इस पैसे को अनपेड डिविडेंड अकाउंट में ट्रांसफर कर देना होता है, जो एक शेड्यूल्ड बैंक के साथ हमने खुलवाना होता है अपनी कंपनी के नाम से. ओके. और अगर हम ऐसा कुछ डिफॉल्ट करते हैं या डिले करते हैं तो हमें उसके ऊपर 12% का इंटरेस्ट भी देना पड़ेगा. ओके. ये है अनपेड डिविडेंड अकाउंट. अब एक इंपॉर्टेंट चीज जो आपको करनी है, पहले ये ट्रांसफर ऑफ अनपेड डिविडेंड टू इन्वेस्टर एजुकेशन एंड प्रोटेक्शन फंड. अगर अनपेड और अनक्लेम्ड जो हमारा डिविडेंड अकाउंट था उसमें से 7 साल तक अमाउंट ट्रांसफर नहीं हो पाता, इट हैज रिमेन अनपेड, इट हैज रिमेन अनक्लेम्ड, तब क्या होगा, हम इन्वेस्टर एजुकेशन एंड प्रोटेक्शन फंड में ये पैसा ट्रांसफर कर देंगे विच हैज बीन सेट अप बाय सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट. ये पैसा इन्वेस्टर एजुकेशन एंड प्रोटेक्शन फंड में चला जाता है. ठीक है. नाउ पनिशमेंट फॉर फेलियर टू डिस्ट्रीब्यूट द डिविडेंड. आई हैव टोल्ड यू if there is a declaration of dividend in the AGM, it is a debt which is enforceable against the company. अब वो देना ही देना है. Okay, we will do certain provisions which talk about revocation later on, but वो देना ही देना है. So section 127 says that such penalty will occur if the dividend is not paid within a period of 30 days. Okay. Company ko obviously imprisonment cannot be done, but a fine with interest at the rate of 18% per annum for the period of default. उसके ऊपर जितना अमाउंट था उसके ऊपर 18% का इंटरेस्ट देना पड़ेगा. Every director of the company, imprisonment may extend to 2 years and ₹1,000 for every day during which such failure continues. अब सेक्शन 127 में एक्सेप्शंस हैं कि कब हम एग्जेम्प्ट कर सकते हैं ये फाइन, कि कब हमें माना जाएगा कि कोई बात नहीं, अगर हम डिविडेंड नहीं दे पाए तो कोई बात नहीं. देयर आर सर्टेन एक्सेप्शंस. इफ बाय ऑपरेशन ऑफ एनी लॉ हम डिविडेंड नहीं दे पा रहे हैं, शेयर होल्डर्स डायरेक्शन, शेयर होल्डर हैज गिवन डायरेक्शंस टू द कंपनी regarding the payment of dividend and those directions cannot be complied with and same has been communicated to him. shareholders ने किसी वे और मीन कोई अलग से तरीका बताया था कि इस तरीके से आप पेमेंट मुझे डिविडेंड की कर दीजिए, और वो डायरेक्शंस कंपनी फॉलो नहीं कर पाई और शेयर होल्डर को भी हमने कम्युनिकेट कर दी है ये चीज कि हम इस तरीके से आपको पेमेंट नहीं कर पाए हैं और 30 दिन तक हम नहीं कर पाए. This could be now made as an exception. If there is a dispute, dividends के पीछे dispute है with shareholder, when there is a dispute regarding the right to receive the dividend, किसका right है receive करने का, अगर कोई इस तरीके का conflict है amongst the shareholders. Dividend adjustment, कई बारी क्या होता है, shareholder से कुछ amount due है, कोई calls due है या कुछ भी some amount is due from a particular shareholder. Then dividend has been lawfully adjusted in that dividend can be adjusted in accordance with the sum due from the shareholder. Okay. So now comes your revocation of declared dividend or interim dividend. कब revoke किया जा सकता है? सबसे पहली बात, ordinarily it cannot be revoked. Ordinarily, it is a very important thing. It cannot be revoked. अगर केस भी हो सकता है एक कंपनी के ऊपर अगर वो डिक्लेयर करने के बाद नहीं देती है डिविडेंड, बट इन केस इलीगली डिविडेंड डिक्लेयर किया गया हो, इलीगली मतलब जो हमने आपको प्रोविजंस बताए वो फॉलो नहीं किए गए, और डिविडेंड डिक्लेयर करने की करी, तब डिक्लेयर हम रेवोकेशन कर सकते हैं, या फिर वेयर एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी इवेंट्स इंटरवीनिंग आफ्टर द डिक्लेरेशन actually have happened, like due to fire, company's property has been destroyed, कोई war हो जाए, there is an outbreak of the war, so some contingencies, some emergency situations have happened, okay. और या फिर कोई ऐसा टैक्स बर्डन आ जाए कंपनी के ऊपर सडनली आफ्टर द डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ द डिविडेंड कि कंपनी नहीं कंजर्व कर पाई हमारे प्रॉफिट्स और उसको वो टैक्स, सच किलिंग टैक्स हैज कम अप, दैट बर्डन ऑफ टैक्स हैज टू बी गिवन, you know, the tax has to be given by the company and this burden of tax has to be borne by the company, तब वो नहीं कर पाई. तो अगर ऐसे कोई इवेंट्स हो जाए उस केस में क्या होता है, रेवोकेशन हो जाए. रेवोकेशन मतलब कैंसिलेशन, हम नहीं दे रहे हैं. रेवोकेशन मींस व्हेन वी आर कैंसिलिंग, वी आर नॉट पेइंग द डिविडेंड. तो ये बहुत कम केसेस में होता है. अगर एक बार वैसे डिक्लेयर हो गया है तो डिविडेंड देना बहुत जरूरी है. Then we have audit and auditors. First of all, many stringent rules have come up in New Companies Act 2013 with respect to the appointment and independence of auditors. पहली बात ये कि independence of auditors, हर जगह हम independence की बात कर रहे हैं. Independence of board. We have to have independent directors on board. Those who do not have any pecuniary and material interest in the affairs of the company. है ना, we talk about them. We talk about, similarly we are talking about independence of auditors. Auditors को हमारी कंपनी में जो जिस भी कंपनी के वो ऑडिटर्स हैं उसमें कोई pecuniary material interest नहीं होना चाहिए. Then only they will be, you know, unbiased towards their work, towards their occupation which they are doing. So Companies Act ने stringent measures अपनाए हैं in order to have appointment and independence of auditors and to check misappropriation and misapplication of funds by directors in connivence with the, मतलब directors और auditors मिलके कोई misappropriation या misapplication of funds ना कर लें. तो सबसे पहले appointment of auditors. Appointment of first auditors, ये बोला जाता है कि board of directors shall appoint an individual or firm. एक individual who is a chartered accountant can also be can also be appointed as the first auditor, या फिर firm can be, जो chartered accountants की firm है वो भी first auditors बनाए जा सकते हैं by the board of directors. Okay, within 30 days of the registration of the company, आपको otherwise appointment of auditors क्या है? Appointment of auditors is a ordinary business which is, याद है ये रहा, appointment of auditors is an ordinary business which needs to be transacted in the AGM, right? तो appointment of auditors, लेकिन जो first auditors हैं, first auditor माने कि when the company has just incorporated, right? When the company has just incorporated, we have to have certain auditors, and then who is going to appoint those first auditors? They will be appointed by the board of directors within 30 days of the registration of the company. And if the board fails, it shall inform the members. Members will call an EGM, and then within 90 days, they will appoint their auditors. Members means shareholders. The first auditor shall hold office till the first AGM. क्योंकि वो first auditors हैं, उनको appoint किया गया है, उनके लिए कोई भी approval नहीं लिया जाता. Basically, अगर board of directors उनको appoint कर रहे हैं, तो they have to be ratified by the shareholders. तो इनका कब तक रहता है? They are till the conclusion of the first AGM, वो first auditors हमारी कंपनी के auditors रहते हैं. What about subsequent auditors? Now, subsequent auditors मतलब आगे, चलो एक साल तो वो हो गया जब incorporate हुई, और first AGM के conclusion तक वो first auditors रह गए. What about subsequent auditors? Now section 139 subsection 1, it talks about appointment of subsequent auditors in the AGM. हमारा अभी आपको दिखाया मैंने, it is an ordinary business. AGM में यही होता है, appointment of auditors. तो अब जो वो subsequent auditor appoint हुआ है, that will remain till the conclusion of the 6th AGM. मतलब 5 साल, 5 consecutive years तक एक auditor का tenure होता है एक particular company में, ठीक है? But these provisions are not the provisions for the government company. Government company के provisions अलग होते हैं. So appointment of first auditor in case of government company. Government company में क्या होता है? CAG, Comptroller Auditor General of India. 60 days, within 60 days of from the date of incorporation, it appoints an auditor. But if it fails to do so, 2 महीने के अंदर वो नहीं अपॉइंट कर पाता, कंट्रोलर ऑडिटर जनरल ऑफ इंडिया इज अ प्रॉपर हमारे देश का ऑडिटर है वो, राइट? सो विद इन 60 days if that this agency does not, this organization doesn't appoint the auditor of a government company, the board shall appoint it within next 30 days. और अगर बोर्ड भी फेल हो जाए तो members shall appoint calling an EGM within 60 days and such auditor shall hold the meeting till the AGM, next AGM. अब इसमें subsequent auditors, अब इस केस में subsequent auditors of existing government companies में क्या होगा? The CAG, again, Comptroller Auditor General of India shall appoint the auditor within a period of 180 days from the commencement of the financial year. ये सारे provisions हैं, ये आपको थोड़ा सा याद रखना पड़ेगा, please. Okay, you have to learn them a little in order to have better understanding of the act. Okay. Eligibility and qualification of auditor. Simple, only a chartered accountant or a firm where majority of partners practicing in India are chartered accountants can be appointed as auditor. Okay, ये eligibility and qualification है. Then where a firm including LLP is appointed as an auditor, only partners who are chartered accountants shall be authorized to sign. जहाँ पर LLP है, जिसको हमने auditor बनाया है, वहाँ पर उसके वो वाले partners, क्योंकि LLP में designated partners बोलते हैं, वहाँ पर members नहीं बोलते. वहां पर जो लोग हैं जो LLP के पार्ट हैं उनको हम designated partners बोलते हैं. Okay, so only the partners who are chartered accountants shall be authorized to act and sign on behalf of the firm, that is LLP. ठीक है? Disqualification. Okay, a lot is there in disqualification which you need to read properly. Disqualification of auditor. अब हम बात करते हैं ऑडिटर की इंडिपेंडेंस की, ठीक है? तो ऑडिटर को इन ऑर्डर टू एंश्योर कि हमारा ऑडिटर इंडिपेंडेंट हो, वो अनबायस्ड हो, उसको कोई भी तरीके का पिक्यूनियरी या मटेरियल इंटरेस्ट हमारी कंपनी में ना हो, मतलब जिस भी कंपनी का वो ऑडिटर है उसमें ना हो, तो क्या होना चाहिए? ही हैज टू मेक श्योर दैट सबसे पहली बार डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन ऑन अकाउंट ऑफ disqualification on account of being auditor in more than 20 companies. Not to be an auditor in more than 20 companies, but जब हम ये 20 का फिगर काउंट करते हैं उसके अंदर हम OPC को नहीं डालते, प्राइवेट कंपनीज को नहीं डालते, डोरमेंट कंपनीज को नहीं डालते, या फिर प्राइवेट कंपनीज हैविंग पेड अप शेयर कैपिटल ऑफ लेस देन 100 crores, छोटी कंपनीज को हम एग्जेम्प्ट कर देते हैं. तो he should not be an auditor in more than 20 companies, and in coming to this figure we exclude these companies. तो इनका वो हो सकता है side by side. Disqualification on account of any business relationship. Now what is business relationship? Business relationship मतलब किसी भी तरीके का he has any sort of an commercial transactions with company या उसकी holding या उसका subsidiary या any sort of these things he has with any of its joint ventures. किसी भी तरीके का business relationship नहीं होना चाहिए of the auditor. Now, disqualification due to relative being, अगर auditor का कोई relative KMP या director है, this is also wrong. Disqualification on account of full-time employment elsewhere. Disqualification on account of employment. So employee or partner or an officer of the company cannot be appointed as an auditor. You cannot appoint your own employee or a partner who is your who himself is the employee of the company, cannot be appointed as an auditor. Disqualification on account of holding security, that means up to 1 lakh by a relative hold किया जा सकता है, but no security interest in the company or its holding, मतलब 1 लाख तक का आप relative का interest हो सकता है कंपनी में, उससे ऊपर नहीं. Disqualification on account of indebtedness, up to 5 लाख तक का debt allowed है, उससे ऊपर नहीं. Disqualification due to the furnishing guarantee, and there are a lot, you can just read once. Disqualification on account of related entity engaged in services. Acha, this is interesting, you should know this. An auditor can provide to the company only such services as are approved by the board of directors. Okay, सिर्फ और the audit committee, सिर्फ वो सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड कर सकता है जो बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स या ऑडिट कमेटी ने अप्रूव कर रखा है, एंड ही इज रिस्ट्रिक्टेड फ्रॉम परफॉर्मिंग सर्टेन सर्विसेज if he is appointed as the auditor of the company. So certain services are restricted to be given to the clients, like internal audit, design and implementation of financial information system, या फिर इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग सर्विसेज. ये सारी सर्विसेज ऑडिटर नहीं देगा कंपनी को, बिकॉज दिस कैन लीड टू डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ फैक्ट्स. तो मैनेजमेंट सर्विसेज या फिर इन्वेस्टमेंट एडवाइजरी सर्विसेज, यहाँ इन्वेस्ट करिए, यहाँ इन्वेस्ट करिए, ऑडिटर ये सब नहीं बताएगा. ऑडिटर हैज टू कीप अ चेक ऑन दी एनी सॉर्ट ऑफ the kind of financial statements the firm is preparing and whether it is true and fair or not. Okay, so auditor, ये जो under section 144 के अंदर कई चीजें हैं जो auditor नहीं provide कर सकता, तो that is, if he does that, it actually leads to disqualification of the auditor. Disqualification on account of fraud, obviously. Appointment of a multidisciplinary firm. So these are certain things which you can just go on and read. Okay. Okay. So just a second. Okay. Then rotation of directors. Yes. Directors need to, rotation of auditors. Sorry. Section 139, subsection 2 states that all these this rule is applicable to all listed companies, all unlisted public companies with a share capital of 10 crore or more, all private limited companies having a paid up capital of rupees 20 crores or more. Okay, all listed companies, all companies having a paid up share capital of the threshold which has been given in the points above, but having public borrowings of 50 crores or more. Okay, so maybe that the private limited companies have lesser than having paid up share capital of rupees, has lesser paid up share capital than 20 crores, but it has public deposits of rupees 50 crores or more, then also it will be applicable. So whichever company has public deposits or public borrowings, that company will also come under the ambit of rotation of auditors. Now the concept of rotation of auditors, it is not going to apply on OPC and small companies. So if there are individual auditors, those auditors have to every 5 years they have to rotate. Okay, but if it is an audit firm, it will rotate every 10 years. Okay, 5 plus 5, they can be the audit firm can complete 2 terms of 5 consecutive years. Okay, but after that they shall not be allowed to get reappointed for in the same company for 5 years. Okay, removal of auditors. Yes, if the auditor has to be removed before the expiry of the term, it is a It is something which requires a special resolution. It requires central government's approval. And after receiving central government's approval, then within 60 days, the company shall hold the general meeting, okay, and the auditor shall be removed, but the auditor has to be given a reasonable opportunity of being heard, okay. So when we are removing the auditor, it is a big thing. It is not a small thing that we can just remove the auditor. No, when he has to be removed before the expiry of his term, then special resolution, central government's approval is required. After receiving the approval of the central government, we have to call an AGM within a period of 60 days. And then also in the AGM, in general meeting, whatever general meeting we are calling, EGM or AGM, then the auditor concerned shall be given a reasonable opportunity of being heard. Powers and duties of auditors: he can have right to access of the books of accounts, vouchers, anytime he can can access, right to attend general meetings, he has right to receive remuneration, you know, the which will be fixed by the board. Then important aspect which you have to do is audit report. Audit report states that whatever auditor has stated, it is to the best of his information and knowledge, okay, about the said accounts and financial statements of the company's affairs, okay. And the auditor's information also states that whether the auditor's report also states that he has received all the information and explanation. Actually, auditor has to tell na, that whatever accounting standards he has applied, whatever kind of information he has sought, whether he has sought information from people or not about the financial statements, whether he was able to have, you know, proper books of accounts, whether they are kept in the company or not, whether the balance sheet or profit and loss account are in agreement with the books of returns or not. So whether a branch audit report came to him or not. Branch audit report means, you know, when accounts of branch offices of a company, they shall also reach to the auditor of the company. Whether they reach the auditor of the company or not in time, because sometimes the auditor can visit the branch office. If the auditor is not visiting the branch office, then it is the responsibility of branch office to send the all the financial statements to the auditors. So whether all the accounting standards have been complied with or not. So all these aspects have to be taken into consideration for you know, having the audit report in place. So also important aspects are like pending litigations. What he has to give his view. The auditor has to give his comment on the thing that if there are certain pending litigations, कोई केस चल रहा है कंपनी पे, तो उसकी financial performance पे या financial position पर कंपनी की financial position पर उस केस के क्या implications हैं. तो any sort of losses which he can foresee कि कंपनी को आगे जाकर ऐसे लॉसेस हो सकते हैं, अगर कंपनी के कोई लॉन्ग टर्म कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स चल रहे हैं, इससे मैं फोर्सी कर सकता हूं कि ऐसे ऐसे लॉसेस हो सकते हैं. दैट आल्सो नीड्स टू बी एक्सप्लेन्ड इन द audit report. So all these things, okay, this is an interesting thing, you should know this. Whether the company had provided requisite disclosure in its financial statements as to holdings as well as dealings in specified bank notes during the period of from 8th November 2016 to 30th December 2016. You remember what happened on 8th November 2016? It was demonetization. So whether these are in accordance with the, whether all these things have been entered in the books of account dealing with the specified bank notes, everything has been put under the accounts or not. So auditors have to give their view on this. Okay. Okay, a lot has been covered in 2 days' time by us, and I'm trying to touch upon the topic so that in the maximum possible manner, so that my main purpose here is that you people should be able to comprehend when you will be studying for your examination. Then you people should be able to comprehend what we have read in this open session, what we have been doing in this open session. So my main purpose is that you should get familiar to the topic. Maybe that I might have skipped a few things, but that doesn't mean that you will not be able to cover it. You will be able to cover it. You will be able to understand. It just requires some sort of some reading. A lot of reading is required here. So I hope you people can do that. Tomorrow I am going to meet you for the last time. I have the last class tomorrow. We will be covering the rest of the topics, which include Winding Up and the Depository Act 1996. I hope that I am making sense to you people and you are able to understand the at least get familiar to the topic in the best possible manner, because in these 2 hours classes I am completing, in 6 hours I have to complete 3 full units. I'm trying to complete 3 full units and give you a glimpse of it. So I shall meet you tomorrow. Stay safe, stay home everyone, and goodbye.